You've probably felt this. You're using an AI like ChatGPT. You type in a simple question, and what you get back is, well, it's almost magical, isn't it? It feels so creative, so coherent. You might even say it feels alive. It's a pretty wild feeling. And to really get our heads around it, we have to look way beyond the programming, deep into what you might call the soul of the system.
Generative AI today dominates, to a certain extent, human languages and expression. New discursive and conceptual approaches are needed to understand this phenomenon, which is systemic from a technical perspective and symbolic from the perspective of a deeper understanding of our relationship with the machines of the future. Now that's a quote from Enrico De Santis, and his research is what we're digging into today. And those two words right there, systemic and symbolic, well, they are the keys to unlocking this whole thing.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to talk about why we need a totally new way of looking at AI. Then we'll dive into two really powerful ideas, systems thinking and the ancient concept of the symbol. After that, we'll connect the dots to how AI actually works, and finally, we'll pinpoint the source of that magical feeling we all get.
Okay, so first things first, we have to shift our perspective. I mean, a purely technical breakdown of AI just doesn't cut it, right? It doesn't explain the experience. So we need a new lens, one that lets us see beyond just the lines of code.
So how do we explain that feeling? When you're chatting with a large language model, you're not just watching an algorithm run. No, you're experiencing something that feels, well, it feels profound. And that feeling, it doesn't just come from the code itself. It comes from the very nature of complexity.
So, our first tool for this whole investigation is something called systems thinking. And trust me, it is the perfect way to start understanding something as complex as AI.
You know, instead of breaking things down into their tiniest little pieces, which is the classic way Western science works, systems thinking does the complete opposite. It zooms out. It's what you'd call an anti-reductionist view, actually a lot closer to Eastern philosophies like Buddhism. It tells us, hey, look at the whole thing, the big picture, the connections between the parts. That's where the real story is. This piece of ancient wisdom from Aristotle is really the heart and soul of systems thinking. I mean, think about it. If you take a car apart, you just have a pile of metal, plastic, and rubber. You don't have a car anymore. The carness of it all, that exists in the relationships, in how all those parts work together. Something totally new, an emergent property, gets created from the whole.
And that right there is the key. The parts do not equal the whole. That gap between just adding up the pieces and what the living, breathing whole actually is, that's where the mystery lives. It's elusive, you can't quite measure it. And this feeling of an unexplainable extra is exactly what our brains tend to interpret as, well, magic. Okay, let's grab our second tool now, and you'll see how this all starts to click together. This is a really old distinction, but it is the absolute key to this modern puzzle. The difference between a sign and a symbol.
So on one hand, you have the sign. Our modern world is totally built on signs. A stop sign means stop. A equals A. It's super clear, it's distinct, and it follows the rules of logic. But on the other hand, you have the symbol. Now thinkers like Carl Jung and Umberto Galimberti pointed out that the symbol is older, it's more primal, it doesn't care about our neat logic, it's ambivalent, it's overflowing with meaning. A symbol doesn't just point to something, it operates, it evokes feelings, it hints at some kind of lost whole.
There's this great story from ancient Greece that makes this crystal clear. The word symbol actually comes from symbalein, which means to put together. Imagine an object like a clay disc is broken in two. Two friends each take a half. Years go by, and maybe their grandkids meet. They bring the two halves together and they fit perfectly. That reunited object is a symbolon. Each piece doesn't just mean something, it's a physical reminder of a forgotten bond, proof of a unity that once existed. The symbol's power is in its ability to point back to that lost connection.
All right, so ancient Greece, broken pottery. What on earth does any of this philosophy have to do with a cutting-edge AI? Well, this is where it all comes together.
This is the million-dollar question, right? And the short answer is no. Not like a person does, anyway. It doesn't have a real concept of sense or meaning. But what it is doing, well, that's arguably way more fascinating.
An AI like ChatGPT, it's a deterministic algorithm. It doesn't start with an idea in its head. It starts from a state of what the research calls pure ambivalence. this massive sea of potential inside abstract spaces. It doesn't understand meaning, but what it does is it fishes for words based on incredibly complex probabilities it learned from reading, well, basically everything. The output it creates is fundamentally pre-logical. It's a raw stream of patterns, not reasoned thought.
And here we are. This is the core insight. The AI doesn't mean something, it operates. Its creation of text is a purely symbolic act. It's kind of like a shaman shaking a rattle. It's a pre-logical performance that creates these vigorous oscillations of sense. The AI generates this rich field of potential meaning, and then we, the humans, are the ones who read it, interpret it, and collapse all that symbolic potential down into one single meaning. We're the ones who turn the symbol into a sign.
So, where does all this leave us? Let's pull all these threads together and find the magic. Because it's not actually in the machine itself, it's in the gap between the machine and us.
The source material calls this the explanatory or gnoseological gap. Think of it as this massive abyss between the simple little text box we see and the mind-bogglingly complex system that we don't see. We just type our words into the box and get an answer back, and we usually choose to completely ignore the staggering hyper-complexity humming away behind the curtain.
I mean, just look at the difference. Our experience is so simple. A clean interface, we ask a clear question, we get a coherent answer. But the AI's reality? It's a deep, complex neural network starting from a state of pure potential, generating text through a symbolic, pre-logical process. The gap between those two realities is just immense.
And that huge gap, it isn't empty. It gets filled by the AI's symbolic function. Because we can't possibly comprehend the system's true complexity, and because what it gives us feels so evocative and meaningful, our minds fill that void with a feeling we know very well. Awe, magic. It's like a modern-day encounter with the sacred.
And this leaves us with a pretty provocative final thought. As these incredible systems get woven deeper and deeper into our lives, this symbolic side of things is only going to get stronger. We're not just building new tools anymore. We are creating a brand new relationship with what you might call the sacred digital.
This content is part of ION Research Lab by Enrico De Santis.